Hello everybody, welcome to the Society of Genealogists for today's event all about Suffolk and the Suffolk Archives and Suffolk Family History, etc. Our first speaker this afternoon is Else Churchill, who is the genealogist at the Society of Genealogists. She teaches regularly in the SOG's education programme, as well as at overseas events and conferences, focusing on genealogy before 1837. Over to you, Elsa.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to welcome all our attendees and our co-speakers to this collaboration between the Society of Genealogists, the Suffolk Archives and the Hold, Suffolk Family History Society and the Old Valley Suffolk Family History Group. And we'll also be learning how the organisations A Vision of Britain Through Time and the Historic Towns Trust and Victoria County Histories can help us research family history in Suffolk. I'll be concentrating on the resources of the Society of Genealogists. We're the oldest and largest genealogical member society in the UK, and we seek to create a working genealogical research hub in our new premises at Wharf Road in London. We've been there now for just over 2 years, and we're just settling in. In general, the Library and Archives of the Society of Genealogists concentrate on collecting resources, collect research on how to do genealogy, so of course textbooks, guides, journals and periodicals, particularly what your ancestors did in their lives, so collecting occupational records from as diverse as education, apprenticeship, military service, military service records, tax records, criminal records, poor law, newspapers, trade directories, ecclesiastical licenses, church court records, etc. We do collect and encourage people to deposit family history material with us and very much try to concentrate and see what has been done on a family you're researching before, which means we have thousands of compiled family histories and pedigrees, genealogy research notes and papers, and we very much concentrate on resources for you to research from the point of view of where your ancestors lived. As you know, most genealogical sources do relate to the places where they lived, and we're particularly looking at the Suffolk resources in the library today, but we particularly look for indexes, finding aids, copies and transcripts of vital records, birth, marriage, death, baptism, burial, censuses, and all the basic records you'd have, and many other local records as well. So these subject areas can be found in various places around the library. In the library and we have the books, electronic and micromedia. We have downsized the library considerably, which means a lot of the library is now in store, but there's still a significant amount at the library. But that does mean you need to use the catalogue, our own library catalogue, which we call SOGCAT. And as we're a family search affiliate library, you can use the family search catalogue to see which records have been digitised and viewable at the society as well. We also are an archive. We have original manuscript documents as well as secondary sources such as copies of research papers and notes. And we have an extensive, what we call our special collections and pedigrees. We have over 700 special collections and thousands of pedigrees, all stored off-site, some of which are online. And for those, you would need to use the old paper archive finding aids. These have been scanned as PDFs and made available on our website in anticipation of our new Collections Plus archive catalogue, which we're working on and use in-house at the moment, prior to hoping to put that online. We put a little of our library holdings from the archives and library onto our members platform known as SOG Explore. These are digital collections with some original records, indexes, databases and digitized books from the library, but only a small percentage of what we hold is online. And so it is absolutely vital that you do use our website to find out information about our library and archive. And we are doing some tinkering to the website. There should be some changes that you'll see imminently, I will say, but hopefully it will be easily navigated and to be able to find the things that I refer to by using the indexes, finding aids, catalogues and things that you can actually view from home if you are a member. So the research pages of the current website will tell you how to access our collections and visit the library if needed. It's not necessary to pre-book a visit, but if you are travelling a long distance to join us at Wharf Road in London, it would be and you would like to reserve a library computer, it might be a good idea to pre-book that if you need to. For information on how to book your visit and other information, do look at the visit section of the SOG website, sog.org.uk. Access is free to members, but non-members can pay a daily search fee. As I said, not all of our holdings and our collections, or indeed books and films, etc., are kept on site. So if you need to order collection items from off-site storage, please try and give us at least 1 week if you can in advance using the collections order form with details from the catalogue, such as author, title, shelf mark, off-site storage box number, or identify the particular collection you'd like us to order in. And we will bring that in time for you. If you are in a hurry or you're not clear how to order, don't hesitate to drop the library an email, and the library and her staff will give you all the information that they can. There are links to the library catalogue, the digital online resources and archive finding aids, as described on the library pages of the website, and the new researcher's handbook, which is a good thing to read before you embark on any trip to the Society. And for those who can't personally visit the Society premises in Wharf Road, the library pages do have information about our very limited search copy service that we can offer, or guidance on employing a professional researcher who you might need to do some research for you if you can't make it in. So with so much information not on the open shelves, it is vital to use the catalogues to identify what you want, and there are shortcuts via these search tabs on the website, which will indicate with yellow when you're using the library catalogue. And while you can take the links to the library catalogue to do more sophisticated, advanced and simple keyword searches, the search that's open to the first search is what we call the pathway for the default browse by subjects. It's good library speak, but that's a good way to start, as it's somewhere where you can put in the name of a place where your ancestors may come from to see what resources we might hold, or see what we have perhaps for a surname that's represented in some of the library collections. But remember, the library catalogue does not include the archive finding aids. Suffolk is a ceremonial county in the east of England and East Anglia, bordered by Norfolk to the north and the North Sea to the east, Essex to the south, and Cambridgeshire to the west, Ipswich is being the largest settlement. The county was predominantly a rural county, with the exceptions of a few larger towns, such as Ipswich, Lowestoft, Bury St Edmunds, Haverhill, Felixstowe, Newmarket, etc. The Society groups everything we have for Suffolk according to the pre-1974 county boundary changes, and therefore we still retain the pre-1974 county and parish names in the catalogues and finding aids, as they largely were when our ancestors lived. So while the Local Government Act of 1888 created the separate administrative counties of East Suffolk and West Suffolk, which were abolished again in the 1970s, Suffolk has always remained one county in our library. And any changes, such as sort of land near Great Yarmouth being transferred to Norfolk, will not be reflected in our catalogue. The old Suffolk parishes will remain Suffolk in the library catalogue, and then all other descriptions. So by place, it's usually the parish where your ancestors lived. We tend to use the IHGS parish maps as published in the Fillmore Atlas as our guide for the parishes as they were before 1832, and but the other administrative units, such as registration district or hundred, are useful search terms too. A typical county holding within our collections will include published material, transcripts and indexes of records, as well as surrogate copies of original records on microfilm and microfiche, and of course access to digital copies through the various websites that provide them. We are an affiliate library, so Family Search is available and to view with closed items available in the library. We organise sort of general local church registers, census indexes, directory poll books, periodicals, etc. as broad headings. So general items will be things that cover the whole of the county of Suffolk, county-wide. For example, county histories, compile pedigrees for the counties, tax lists such as hearth tax, will indexes, guides to research in the county. By local, we mean referring to a specific place with a shelf mark LOC on the county shelves with over 632 specific items in SOGCAT relating to places in the county, excluding church registers. And so local items, we mean things like parish histories, parish chest records, such as rate books, tax lists, poor law material, local quarter sessions, borough records of apprenticeship and freeman for Ipswich, for example. Church registers include in the catalogue list all the copies, transcripts, indexes, and finding aids, and there's a very significant number for Suffolk, over 1,500 items listed in the catalogue, largely surrogate copies of records of church registers, parish registers from on microfiche, purchased from the Record Office some time ago. And all of this material relating to what we have for the parishes are listed in the library catalogue. And by registers, we mean as not only these Church of England christenings, marriages, and burials, but we have lots of records and copies of records and transcripts for nonconformists and other denominations in the county. We have a significant number, over 294 items listed in SOGCAT relating to monumental inscriptions from local churchyards and cemeteries, many published by the Suffolk Family History Society or transcribed by our own members. All bound parish register transcripts and monumental inscription transcripts, which were formerly on the open Suffolk shelves, have actually now been scanned as part of our space conservation activities. And we have a pilot project uploading monumental inscriptions onto our online members platform known as SOG Explore. And in fact, we have just started adding Suffolk MIs as we speak. However, a large amount of material is held off-site, such as census indexes, directories, poll books. A few of those have been scanned and put online, but most are in store. Periodicals of family and local history societies, county records series, etc. The library catalogue indicates if an item is on the shelf or held off-site, in which case you will need either a shelf mark beginning with SF or a box number, and it's the box numbers we can order in from off-site store. So start with the library catalogue and just put in a place term, such as a parish, registration district, ecclesiastical court, for etc. that you're interested in, and that will tell you how many items there are. For larger items like Ipswich, which shows we have 130 items, there are cross-references on the catalogue to narrower terms, such as individual parishes within the town, chapels and hamlets, etc. So Woodbridge, the catalogue indicates we've got 36 items. These include microfiche copies of the original parish registers, but there are many bound transcripts and lots of things published from local material as well. There's nonconformist and Quaker material. The parish is also covered by the marriage indexes for 1813 to 1837, compiled by Suffolk Family History Society, for which we have CD copies, and the parish is well covered, as indeed the whole county is, by Boyd's Marriage Index, which is owned by the Society, which covers over 489 parishes, approximately 90 to 90% of the county, mainly for pre-1754. And the first two series, the Boys Marriage Index and the main series, including Suffolk, are online on SOG Explore. As I said, in addition to library access to the major genealogy websites, Ancestry, Find My Past, The Genealogist and My Heritage, etc., which we make available in the library for visitors, the Society is also a Family Search partner, an affiliate library, and records that have been scanned and digitised by Family Search and listed in the Family Search catalogue can be viewed at the Society. Increasingly, Family Search full text is making previously unindexed or minimally indexed items more accessible within Family Search website and viewable at the affiliate partner, and this can include court records, manor court rolls. Here, for example, local material relating to Bilderston in Suffolk, available via Family Search at the SOG too. In addition to parish registers and monumental inscriptions, we collect what we call local items, comprising sources, places within a county, such as local histories, local war biographies, parish church records other than registers, such as church wardens' accounts, settlement certificates, or vaccinations, or in this case, quarter session depositions from Bury St Edmunds quarter sessions, which have been transcribed and in the library, or indeed Mike Durant's abstracts and transcripts of genealogical notes and sources for Badley, as published by Suffolk Family History Society. Again, a copy deposited in the library. In addition to thinking about specific places within the county, you could think of sources that might reflect the whole county, as I say, general items. So you can search for Suffolk general subject headings in the library, wide range of subjects from addresses to World War, and these can include, as I say, tax lists, visitations, or things like general histories, obviously the county histories, or uh, manor records for the whole of the county if they've been published. We have quite a lot of general items, including published pedigrees and family trees for families within the county, such as those compiled by Arthur Campling and published in 1939 and 1947 by the Harleian and the Norfolk Record Society, or indeed the notes on Essex families, the manuscript notes bound on the general Suffolk shelves, compiled by Thomas Hyatt King, known as the King manuscripts, which he put together at the beginning of the 20th century in 1902. The Campling collection is quite remarkable. Campling was an antiquarian with a lifelong interest in heraldry and genealogy. He was honorary librarian of the Norfolk and Norwich Archaeological Society and worked for many years at the College of Arms with Windsor Herald Alfred Trago Butler. Campling's genealogical collection at the Society relating to East Anglia was begun in 1892 and it was only interrupted by his death in 1947. The sources he used to bring together were, for his notes, were the Herald Visitation collections at the College of Arms, at the Norfolk Record Society and Norfolk and Norwich Archaeological Society. He used wills, marriage licenses, original grants of arms, held also at the British Museum, Norwich City Archives, Society of Antiquaries Library, and he used additional manuscripts from the British Library, as we know from the British Library. So the collection is in boxes in store. We have a microfilm copy, which we kind of prefer you to use, but it's not brilliant. I have to say it was early microfilming. It's covered by there is a name index within the online archive finding aids. There is a card index an old card index to the collections, and there it will tell you that the name Wace, for example, is on file number 693. I think that says within the Campling collection. So if we pull that up, it's one of the 5,000 files of notes on families, and they also the collection includes abstracts of wills and lots of index marriage licenses. I've taken that from the films. There's a little bit of background noise there, but that's what the original papers look like. So these are the notes which were the basis of the published pedigree. But as I say, of the 5,000 files, there's an awful lot of the papers within there which were never actually published in the published work East Anglian Pedigrees. We do encourage people to deposit family histories and compile family histories in the library, and we have well over 9,000, all listed by surname in the catalogue, and they're currently being scanned in partnership with Family Search, and they will go on to SOG Explore or online at a future date. But again, that was a way of conserving a lot of space by scanning and creating PDF copies of thousands of books in the library. So, of course, the Society of Genealogists will have all the indexes and finding aids to establish if a will does exist, along a lot with abstracts and copies of the documents themselves, and particularly sort of surrogate copies which have been digitised by Family Search and viewable at the Society, or indeed indexed by an appropriate genealogy subscription website. So for Suffolk, we have for the pre-1558 Church Court material for the consistory of Norwich, which covered the county, as well as the two archdeaconries of Sudbury and Suffolk, and anything where there may be a peculiar will have all the indexes and finding aids. And increasingly, again, those copies of wills for Suffolk made digitised by Family Search are increasingly made more readily available because they have the AI full text search facility over them, often meaning you get a will with a transcript. It's not brilliant, but it's improving all the time. Sometimes the local material does include county abstracts, sort of parish abstracts of wills for that particular parish, such as the work there on wills and administrations for the village of Weybred, will abstracts from 1400 to 1750 for people in that parish. The County of Suffolk is served by a very active and flourishing local record society and, of course, the Family History Society. So our periodicals for the county do include Suffolk Roots, published by the Suffolk Family History Society, and lots of local history and record society volumes of the Suffolk Record Society, the infamous Suffolk Green Books. We have a full set in the library. I'm glad they're not on the open shelves now, because that used to confuse people. The fact that our set of the Suffolk Green Books were neither had been rebound and were not green. That confused people intensely. However, the things like the East Anglian Notes and Queries, the Suffolk Review, the Suffolk Snapshots, all earlier local history journals we have in the library. Moving on from digital to our manuscript archives, the library pages do link to scanned copies of our archive finding aids for the document special and topographical collections and the manuscript roll pedigrees. Within what we call our topographical collection, where we've filed loose papers and record and increasingly some original records by place, we've got about 150 boxes within the topographical papers, and a few of those have been microfiched to conserve them. So these are things which we have arranged by place. New additions to the topographical collection were listed in the Genealogist magazine, and they have been a rough paper list has been made of what was in each county box, and these paper lists have gone on to the archive finding aids. Many of the donations came from clearances of solicitors' deed boxes, for example, by the British Record Association, which acts as a clearinghouse for such dispersals. And so there can be an absolute miscellany of the kind of things you might find in the topographical collections. So the old archive paper lists are now available to view via our website. So here, for example, you can see the guide to the topographical collection on the archive finding aids. That will give you a page of what's in the box with the various folders within the Suffolk boxes. And here, for example, it shows us that we have a list, in this case covering the whole county, of subscribers to a military fund. I think that's subscribers for the militia. Yeah. Many of what we call the special collections comprise extensive research notes and family papers compiled and collected by family historians. There's plenty of special collections do refer to Suffolk families. There is a report for each of the collection. At the moment, we can only search across those collections by place and name in the society, but we hope to improve that. But the rough paper list describing the collections can be found through the archive finding aids, and I can tell you perhaps here, for example, the mean collection, which you'll see the report there for the mean collection, has, as well as being pretty much a sort of one name study, does have lots of other related family names from Suffolk with little notes on various Suffolk families from varying time periods. Prior to the use of family history software, we might have the roll pedigrees. We have hundreds of, in fact, thousands of roll pedigrees deposited in the society on very large pieces of paper. 424 of those refer exclusively to Suffolk families, such as here for Bents or Bendish. We're starting to upload those onto SOG Explore, where you can find them indexed and navigable through tree search as a link from SOG Explore. Again, that's quite an interesting one of finding pedigrees for Suffolk families online. Elements of the library and archive are made available to SOG members via SOG Explore, and there are over 60 expressly Suffolk data sets within the collections, ranging from a scanned copy of a history of Needham Market, lots of transcribed registers, a few monumental inscriptions, older journals, lots of poll books and directories, etc. We're currently uploading our transcribed about monumental inscriptions. We haven't got that much up for Suffolk on yet, but we're powering through the MI, so it's something that come very frequently. You'll find it. Currently, only the monumental inscriptions from the Hayden and Whitehead collection of notes on Suffolk have been uploaded as MIs onto SOG Explore. Of the 46 poll books, about 12 of them have been put onto SOG Explore, all indexed by name and browsable as well. So, for example, the 8 or so Ipswich poll books have been put up as one current name index, covering all the names from the poll books from 1768 to 1865, all indexed. Directories are there for browsable. As I say, we've got about 65 Suffolk directories, only about 5 are on SOG Explore at the moment. You can search across the indexes on SOG Explore to see what we have for a particular individual or indeed a name. Here I highlighted Bents in Suffolk. You can see some of the various data sets where you will find information on the name. Leading to the digital version of the old Society of Genealogists Great Card Index, an absolute miscellany of about 3 million slips of all variety notes, which we're currently uploading at the moment. So there's quite a lot of Suffolk notes on the Bents families in there. Let's make that a bit bigger for you to see some notes on Suffolk families in the Great Card Index. In fact, I noted on SOG Explore there were 768,203 entries out of about 14 million on SOG Explore, just relating to Suffolk people. So I hope you'll have a look at SOG Explore and see if there's anything on there as a reason perhaps to join the society. And of those 700,000, there were 25,000 Suffolk apprenticeships in the apprentices and masters in the index to the tax levied on apprenticeships in the SOG Apprentices of Great Britain series. That's very much a whistle-stop tour of what we have at the Society. Do have a look at the catalogue, do have a look at the archive finding aids, do have a look at the website, and I hope one day we will see you at the Society of Genealogists. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Elsa. Our next speaker is Andy Kerridge, who is chair of the Suffolk Family History Society, a role he took on after a few years as membership secretary. However, he has been a member of the society since the early 1990s. The society has around 1,500 members, most of whom are in Suffolk, but there are other members across the globe. Thank you, Andy.
Okay, good afternoon, and thank you to the SOG for giving me this opportunity. Right, firstly, for those of you not from the UK, please do not take my accent as being representative of Suffolk. I've also got a slight cold at the moment, so my voice is probably an octave lower. Those in the UK would definitely say you're a northerner, and those with a keener ear might say you're from Yorkshire, and they'd be absolutely right. And I'm actually broadcasting from my father-in-law's in the outskirts of York at the moment. It was my grandfather, Charles Kerridge, who moved up from Suffolk when he was a teenager to find work in the north. He found that work, he also found a wife and had a family, and the rest, as they say, is history, or rather family history. The fact that I can be chair of Suffolk FHS is down to the wonders of technology, particularly Zoom. I actually live about 90 minutes west of the westernmost borders of Suffolk. So, to put that into perspective, and for those of you outside the UK who may not know, Suffolk is on the east side of the county, fairly large county with low population density. A mainly farming county, although obviously along the coast there was fishing, boat building, and of course smuggling, although that tended to be a part-time addition to the CV of those involved. Suffolk is the land of the southern folk. Norfolk, therefore, being the northern folk. The folks were Angles, and they settled in what is now Suffolk. Settled being an interesting term. They invaded in about the 5th century, but obviously with Suffolk being on that eastern seaboard and with the rest of Europe easily accessible and a very short distance away, the Angles weren't the first and certainly weren't the last to migrate or invade. They were followed by the Vikings, of course, and East Anglia was part of Danelaw. Last year, the Society celebrated its 50th anniversary. We started in Lowestoft, which is actually in the top corner, northeast corner of the county, and is the most easternmost railway station in the country. And what we do is typical of a UK Family History Society. We're a registered charity, we have trustees and officers, we're supported by many volunteers, and we're members of the Family History Federation. Moving on, our key activities. Transcriptions are one of the key activities that we undertake, but we also do events, virtual and face-to-face activities. We publish a quarterly high-quality journal, of which we're very proud, and as already mentioned, called Suffolk Roots. And then there are other membership benefits, which I'll talk about later. To go into a bit more detail on the transcriptions, the Society is transcribing and indexing Suffolk parish registers, and there's a lot of them. I know Elsa mentioned the large amounts of parish holdings they had, but there's 500 Anglican parishes. But the end is in sight with regards to transcription. We've done all the burials for the county. That was an outcome from National Burial Index, but we've done further work on those, and there is more detail on our burial index than is on the national one. For the baptism and marriages, we've been working backwards from 1837 in the case of marriages and 1900 for baptisms. The reason for 1900 is that when Suffolk Archives created feature of the parish registers, that was the date they went up to. We do have a few transcripts which go beyond that, but as yet they're not available publicly. You can see the availability of the transcripts we've done. They're all available as CDs or downloads from our online shop. And last year, we also released Suffolk Baptism Index for non-conformist and workhouses, covering 1650 to 1964. And the shop lists the parishes or institutes covered for each index. At the bottom of the slide, you can see an example baptism from Ipswich St Mary the Tower, where you can see the additional notes give the date of birth, the fact that it was a private baptism, and that Harriet was then received into church, and we also get the mother's maiden name and the home parish. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they were all like that? Of course they're not. We have grouped the transcript indexes into deaneries. I think when we originally started, we were releasing them parish by parish, but that became a huge collection of CDs. Now they're done by deaneries, which is a group of about 15 to 30 parishes. And these deaneries were often very similar to the poor law unions, which were also used as registration districts when civil registration came along in 1837. Although different names might have been used, the areas are roughly the same. Our online shop helps explain and has lists of the parishes covered within a deanery. But for the indexes we produce first, those that I mentioned are on the screen. We actually have done consolidated index, so you can buy the baptisms for the whole of Suffolk for 1813 to 1900 for £25, and the same or similar amounts for the marriages. I don't think we'll be doing those consolidated indexes anymore. I think it's likely. Well, first of all, there's a huge amount of work in putting those together, but we are now moving more likely to an online database and access, and that will come. The work currently underway covering the earlier years is a mixture of good and not so good. It's good because from a transcription point of view, there are not so many registers. There certainly were not 500 registers in 1538. So there are fewer parishes to cover. And then the entries themselves are very brief. Baptized John Smith, no parents or whatever mentioned, or occupations. However, the other side of that is the quality of the records that are available may not be so good. These records are 400 to 500 years old, and they haven't always been kept in the best of conditions in parish chests that may have let in the damp, may have had insect infestation, and so forth. So the survival of some of the records and the quality of records isn't always that great. And also, you may well be dealing with poor legibility, and some of the early records may also be in Latin. As I think I said, all are available as CDs or downloads. The link is on the screen, but just go to our website and it has a tab for the shop anyway. You can see it. Members get a 20% discount. That's obviously excluding postage, which seems to be going up every 6 months anyway. So you can easily recover the cost of membership. When a membership, the very basic membership for electronic copy of Suffolk Roots is only £10. You can easily recoup that cost. I've already mentioned ancestry. Yeah, I'm going through them. I have a one name study into my own surname, so I'm going through every Kerridge or similar entry in there, and yeah, there's some real howlers, which yeah is disappointing. And also point out we've shared some of our older indexes also with Find My Past. We have also transcribed monumental inscriptions, which are usually gravestones, but include inscriptions on the inside of churches, plaques on the walls, etc., for about 160 burial grounds and churches around the county. So that's probably about 15% of the burial grounds, as inevitably there will be more burial grounds than parishes. We have several other parishes ready to go on our new website after some processing. We have indexes to the half tax returns, which is the nearest that we get to a census for 17th century Suffolk. It identifies those from the wealthier tiers of society, and if your ancestors or relatives are on that half tax list, the chances are that they will be mentioned in other records. If they are wealthy and own one or two hearths, then they may have left a will. They may well have got into property transactions or property disputes. They were at least the middle class of the 17th century. We've got pretty good coverage of those in terms of parishes, but within a parish, it may be only 1 year that is present. And you can see an example on the screen for Roger Clark in 1666 with 2 hearths in Alderton. The note says his surname was spelled differently in 1674. What a surprise. And that it was a blacksmith. And the number 28, it just refers to the line number in the record. So actually, if you do have more than 1 year, you can actually look to see whether they had the same neighbours and such like. But you probably need to ask me to look at those. I don't think that's available on the on-site database. Then we have an index to the coroner's inquest for East Suffolk, 1767 to 1921, and we're working on bringing it up to 1936 when the files end. I know that we've got 1922 to 24 transcribed now. I've just received some data. And I've just shown 3 examples to show the wide range of the entries. So not surprisingly, the first one, accidental death. Well, walking across a rifle range, probably not the best idea. Then we've got somebody killed by a Zeppelin. And then accidental death, immersion in baptistry. An 83-year-old Amy was presumably drowned. Really bizarre entries in there. Lastly, for members, they can search past copies of Suffolk Roots right back to 1975 when it was just 4 pages of typed paper, Tipex and all. Now it is typically 90 pages or more of articles. And that's always worth a check by new members to see if anyone has previously written about their surname or place of interest. There are lots of articles. All of these indexes are available for members to search via our website, but non-members can also request a search for a very small fee, and details are on our website. We now have 3 indexes which are open to non-members as well. The World War II Roll of Honour, and I've got an example, not surprisingly, of a Kerridge entry here, Claude William. We have a Great Grandparents Index. This started probably about 8-10 years ago, asking people for their list out their 8, I think it is, great grandparents. That produced some interesting results. And then obviously members' interests. And it doesn't matter whether those interests are in Suffolk or not. We also share this list with the Family History Federation for their consolidated members' interest search facility, which is a fabulous resource. Somebody may be researching Kerridge in Suffolk, but they may not be a member of Suffolk Family History Society because they have 10 or 15 other interests. So, put the link on the screen. Give that a try if you've not used it before. Then we have 3 new indexes. And I know Judith is going to also cover some of these. First one, the vaccination, birth and death. The vaccination returns are copies of the civil registers of births for the town of Ipswich. Notice it's a town, not a city. Bit of a sore point. With the addition of the deaths of any infants who died before they could be vaccinated. And I'll explain more about that in a minute. That information was gathered as a result of an open university project some years ago, paid for by grants, i.e. public funds. And so we have permission from the original people who led that to be able to make it available for free on our website, just to widen access for it. I'm just going to jump a little bit so you can see a copy of a birth register, just to see what is present on it. And hopefully you've got a big enough screen to be able to see some of these. You've got pretty much everything on there that you would expect from a birth certificate. Then you have some additional bits, is because the notice was given and it tells you when it was given and to whom it was given, which was usually the mother, but not necessarily. And unfortunately, there is the one I've outlined in the red circle there, a child that died before the vaccination was able to be given. Oh, sorry, I'll just jump to the next one, which is the death registers. This is when it becomes even more interesting, as the death registers should only be for deaths of infants within a year or so of vaccination. But for Ipswich, the medical officer of health decided, why? But we praise him, we praise him. He decided to record all deaths. So as you can see here, these are definitely not infants, 79-year-olds. In fact, none of them, they're all pensioners. You get pretty much everything you would have on a death certificate apart from the informant. We have transcripts for both births and deaths from 1871 to 1910. They cover most, but not all of Ipswich. I mentioned that. We are now part of the project team working on extending the coverage of these registers, working with Suffolk Archives and the universities of Cambridge, Suffolk and Edinburgh, as well as a team in Denmark who are adapting and training an AI transcribing model. Exciting times. And that's why I had the pages from 1912 and 1940 to share with you. And as I think I mentioned a couple of slides ago, or had on the screen, there other towns also have the birth registers. So essentially, what is on birth certificates, but not the death registers, unfortunately. So that's a future project. Now, the second index I had on that list is in the very early stages. We found amongst our files a CD of Suffolk wills beneficiaries covering from the 15th century to the 20th, but far from complete. It appeared to have been crowdsourced. No one now in or outside the society was able to give the full background. We know that 2 volumes were produced and sold covering 1814 to 57, and they are in any case on Find My Past, and they may be on other media as well. So we've taken that CD, rapidly copied it to various hard drives for security, and recruited volunteers around the world, New Zealand and America. It doesn't matter, the data is online, and we're now working back from 1847. And the third index we've just started is for BMD certificates. Over the last couple of years, the Society has taken on the family history effects of some past members, and some had accumulated a considerable quantity of certificates. The easiest way to make the information widely available is to make an index, of course, so that's what we're doing. And we'll be going out to members soon to ask for scans, photos of any certificates they have in their files to add to this index. Noting that the certificates are usually copies anyway, the valuable part is the information, not the certificate. Next slide. Another key activity is that the Society puts on Zooms, which at the moment are only for members after an issue last year, but we are looking at how we can open them up again. I've put up the programme for the next few months on the screen. A variety of subjects there, from general family history to Suffolk specific. And for those who miss the talks, we do, whenever possible, record them and make them available for a couple of weeks after the talk. We have 5 local groups. Lowestoft, Bury St Edmunds, as you can see. And they put on monthly talks. In the summer, they may do a parish walk or visit a site of interest within the vicinity. Some of them hold help sessions as well. Haverhill have a weekly session on a Wednesday, for example, and our Ipswich group is just starting a 3-talk series on begin researching your family history. And I've put the details on the next slide if you are in or near Ipswich and want to join in. Of course, this has been recorded, so you can go back and check that. But if you want to find out more and don't have time to get all these details down, do email me. The details of my email are on the last slide as well. We participate in a number of fairs around the country, the first of 2026 being the Federation's East Anglia Really Useful Family History Show in St Ives. We participated in the first one in 2024 and really enjoyed that. There was a real buzz and very happy and excited that more stalls have booked and it's going to be a really good show. We also do our own fair, which is now in May. It sort of dots around there. We had to move it because of the really useful show. We were already planning the same weekend, so we moved. But 9th of May, we started trying to run a theme, and the theme this year is maritime, and we've partnered with the Ipswich Maritime Trust. And whilst it just says Kathy is giving one talk, that's actually going to be Kathy hosting a number of speakers and presentations within that overall title. So if you can get over to Ipswich on the 9th of May, please come along and say hello. And our journal. I've reproduced the contents page of our most recent edition for December, so you get a flavour. And the theme for December was immigration to Suffolk. So we had stories ranging from Scottish farmers and Italian ice cream sellers. But, you know, an article doesn't have to be about the theme, but it provides a hook for people maybe just to be persuaded to write that article they've been thinking about. And as I've already said, members can search back past copies right back to 1975 of this journal. So obviously, I'm hoping that you're interested enough to want to become a member. So what do you get? Well, you're £10 per annum, which is for the electronic copy or downloadable copy of Roots. We've got the members only area, and I've talked about some of the indexes you can access. There are other indexes as well. We exchange journals with societies in North America, Australia, New Zealand, and some fascinating stories in those journals about the early pioneers. You get the 20% discount on publications, which is quite a valuable discount. You get the journal, you got a help forum on our website, and you can attend our Zoom presentations. And you get a welcome pack when you join. It's always a good time to join the society, but joining now, you get 13 months for the price of 12. So in other words, you won't, if you join, our membership year runs from 1st of April through to the 31st of March. You join now, you will get March 2026 journal as well as the 4 journals for the membership year 2026-27. So 5 journals for that price. Right. Unfortunately, Suffolk Local History Council were not able to be here, but I feel it is important that they and the societies they represent are mentioned. Family history should be looked at together with local history, otherwise your research will have little context and just be a list of names and dates. How your ancestors lived, what was the local workhouse like, local events, coming of the railways and so on. Local history groups are a valuable resource with local knowledge. Some have archives and many hold monthly talks, as per Elmswell, which I've put on the slide there. Furthermore, in Suffolk, we have an almost unique resource, the local history recorders. I have used them. They've provided some excellent local information relating to my family and the villages in the late 19th centuries. Some of the groups have web pages, many are on Facebook. Search them out. That's all from me, as promised. Here are my contact details as well as the website address. Thank you very much for your attention. I suspect there are some questions, but I'll deal with those later.
Our next speaker is Judith Berry, who is the head of Suffolk Archives and the Hold, part of the Suffolk County Council. Her role involves managing and overseeing all aspects of the Suffolk Archive Service, including the nationally recognised Audience Development Programme. Thank you.
Okay, lovely. Well, thank you for inviting us to take part into today's session. Like Andy, I'm afraid I've had a cold, the joys of half term. So hopefully my voice will hold out for the next sort of 25-30 minutes. But forgive me if it doesn't. So researching in Suffolk, the Suffolk Archives has undergone a number of changes over the last couple of years. So I wanted to start by really sort of going over some of the basics of who we are, what we do, and then how we can help you. So, I mean, very simply, we are the County Archive Service for Suffolk. We are funded by Suffolk County Council, and we are an accredited archive service, which means that we meet the standards laid down by the National Archives. So our aims are to collect, preserve, and make accessible the archives relating to Suffolk people and places. So quite a broad sort of rationale there. And this can include the County Council's own archives, the district, borough and parish councils, probate records, parish chest collections, nonconformists, schools, estates and families, businesses, solicitors, charities, individuals, and many more. And as you can see from the examples that I've got on screen here, our archives can range from parchment, paper, maps, photographs, plans, drawings, oral history recordings, volumes of either paper or parchment volumes, all the way through to born digital material. So material that was created in a digital format and comes to us in digital format, which brings all sorts of challenges and poses lots of questions for archives. So our earliest document, the I Charter, which you'll see in the top left of the screen there, dates from 1119. And then our most recent deposits are really from within the last year. So we span over 900 years of Suffolk history. We have just under 10 miles of archives, roughly, we think, 94 million pages of information, and over 30,000 local studies items, including books, pamphlets, directories, OS maps, and newspapers. So it's obviously really important that we keep those archives safe, as most of what we look after is unique and of national as well as local importance. So obviously we don't want anything to happen to it. We therefore protect all our collections from flood, fire and light damage. Some of you I know will have been on tours potentially of the office and the behind the scenes areas, so you'll have seen our strong rooms. And we regularly monitor those conditions within the strong rooms. We also carry out preventative conservation and remedial conservation. So in an ideal world, we would address items before they get too damaged. So that might be where we provide surrogates. So for example, that used to be microfilm and microfiche. Now, obviously, we look to provide digital copies instead. But you'll see from just these images that I pulled up, it really does vary tremendously as to what material we hold. And talking of Hold, this is the Hold, which is our relatively new building in Ipswich. This is mainly funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, along with other major funders, including the County Council and the University of Suffolk. So the University of Suffolk is just over the road here from the Hold, and it is a joint building. So we do have an auditorium and seminar rooms which the university uses, and we work very closely with the university and particularly with the history department. Which is a benefit to both of us. So one of the changes that I've sort of alluded to is that in 2024, as part of the County Council's wider budget adjustments, we did close our branches in Bury and Lowestoft, Bury St Edmunds, I should say, and we moved the archives and the local studies material to the Hold. So everything is now in the one building that you see here. So in addition to the Hold being the home of Suffolk Archives, it's also a bigger building. So we have a cafe, a shop, an exhibition gallery, as well as the auditorium and the seminar rooms, which I mentioned. So I just thought, for those of you who've not been to us before and might be wanting to know how it works on a practical basis, this is what you'll see if you come in at the 4th Street entrance. So down here. which is the picture that you saw on the previous slide. So we have the cafe, the shop, the exhibition gallery, and then on the right-hand side, as we're looking at the picture as well, the auditorium is behind that wonderful charcoal drawings wall. And then in the top left-hand corner, you can just see the glass of the library, which is the John Blatchley Local Studies Library, and then beyond that, the search room. So obviously, for those of you undertaking family history or even local history, the library and the search room are where you're going to spend most of your time. I did just want to mention our exhibition gallery, though, because this has allowed us to really promote the use of archives and the joy of archives. So we host 3 exhibitions a year. We've just taken out and closed Behind Bars, which was a look at crime and punishment records, including material relating to Margaret Catchpole, which we borrowed from Australian libraries. And this week we will be opening Beyond Labels, which is celebrating disability in Suffolk. And the exhibitions are designed to highlight material from our archives, as well as borrowing material from national, if not international, repositories. And also we aim to collect new material as part of that exhibition programme. Because one of the things that we're very keen on doing is making sure that the archives reflect Suffolk, and just not just Suffolk history, but also ongoing Suffolk history, so that we don't have a big black hole in 50 years' time of what life was like in 2025. So on to some of the practicalities. Our opening hours for the archives and the John Blatchley Local Studies Library, which is a bit of a mouthful, so I will probably refer to it as the JBL from now on in. We're open Tuesday to Saturday, 10 till 4:30. Now, they're quite generous opening hours in comparison to a lot of other county record offices. We were shut on a Wednesday as well as a Monday. But when we reopened in 2025, after the closure of Bury and Lowestoft, I was keen to ensure that we had as broad a range of opening hours as we could possibly manage. So at the moment, Tuesday to Saturday, 10 till 4:30. And that gives everybody the opportunity, hopefully, to get in. And that's every Saturday. Again, I know some archive services only operate one Saturday a month or every other Saturday, but we've been able to retain those hours for every Saturday. And then contact details. Again, this is all being recorded, so you can easily find this again. Our email address, very simple, archives@suffolk.gov.uk, telephone number, website, and then a variety of social media options to follow us on. So the JBL, we're lucky in Suffolk in that we have the local studies library within the archive service. I know other counties sometimes have them separated, but we've always had it sitting within what was the record office and then the archive service. And it's fabulous because it does mean that you can easily move between your secondary and your primary sources. And if you're absolutely new to something, you have that backup of the secondary printed material. So for us, we consider the local studies library to be printed books and maps, ephemera, pamphlets, newspaper cuttings, periodicals and magazines. We have a lot of newspapers on microfilm. Some of those have now been not replaced, but added to by the British Newspaper Archive. Lots of material on microfilm and fiche. Again, as we move to digital access to some of that material, we're taking the microfilms out, partly because of the space issue, and partly because we feel that most people will access it on the digital format. And then this is where you'd access online resources as well. So we have obviously got access to Ancestry because we are now a contributor to Ancestry. We also have Find My Past library editions. I should throw in a quick plug here for Suffolk Community Libraries. They have access to Ancestry and Find My Past in all of the Suffolk libraries. So if you are in Suffolk or around the edges and it's easier to get to a library, then you can get free access to Ancestry and Find My Past. We've recently taken out a subscription to the Genealogist as well, partly because the tithe maps and apportionments are on there. And we do keep an eye on things, and as and when new resources become available online, we'll have a look at what other material might be more suitable or might be more useful for people to have to have on there. So most of our local studies books are catalogued on the Suffolk Communities Library website. I've included the link there. However, not everything has made its way onto that website. So we've got a project going on at the moment where I have a librarian in who is cataloguing the remaining material and checking it all. As you can imagine, merging 3 local studies libraries from other branches has been quite a job. So we're trying to work out that we don't have duplicates, make sure we've got the best quality copies that we have, and that we have everything online. That's going to take a long time with 30,000 items, but that's an ongoing project. And Andy sort of mentioned this, that the local studies material is really helpful because it can help flesh out the lives of your ancestors. So whether it's information on more obscure professions, or even wanting to know, okay, my family were often in the 1700s. I wonder what that was like. Or going and looking at trade directories to see who were the notable people in that area at that point. So we're very grateful that we have the local studies collection and that we can use it alongside the archives. And then this is the archive search room. So very similar to other archive search rooms, I think, to be fair. We operate our own reader's ticket system at the moment, although I am investigating joining the archives card scheme, because that will obviously make it simpler for you as customers. At the moment, it is a very straightforward system. You complete the form online and then bring some form of ID with your name, address, and signature, and we validate your reader's ticket, and that lasts for 3 years. But as I said, I think we will be moving towards the archives card system. Very similar search room rules to any other archive service, so no bags, pens, food, drink, gum, cough sweets, and the like, pencils only. We do operate a photo permit system, so that's £10 for the day. We do ask you to fill in a form just to say what you're taking photographs of. And the reason for that is a lot of the material that we actually have is not ours. We hold it on deposit for owners. So for private study and non-commercial research, that's wonderful. You can take photos, you can use the material. But if you then want to go ahead and use it in a book or a website or anything like that, any kind of publication, we do ask that you come back to us and then we can seek the necessary permissions from both the owners of the material and potentially the copyright owners. Copyright is a bit of a minefield, but it's very important that we try and do the best for our depositors. So I think the biggest change that I wanted to really take the opportunity to tell you about was that up until February last year, we had an appointment system. And you had to make an appointment, you had to pre-order your documents. I'm very pleased to say that's now no longer the case. You don't need to make an appointment. If you want to rock up in the morning and decide, or you get up and you think, oh, it's raining, I'm going to go to the archive, then by all means, come and join us. We have 10 bookable seats and we have 5 unbookables. So as long as you're within that first 5, you're grand, you're okay. If, however, you're coming for some distance and you want to reserve a seat, again, there's means to do that, because we appreciate if you're coming a long way, you want to be sure that you've got a seat in the search room. So on our website, there are details of how you do that. Again, if you know what you're looking for, you can pre-order up to 4 items to be ready at 10 o'clock when we open. If you don't know and you want to have a look at the catalogues or want to talk to staff, we then have production runs at 10:30, 11:30, 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And you can order an extra 4 items per run. We do have a digitisation service available. So we will take digital copies and then send them out to you. Some things you can download and pay for online. Other things you can place that order through the website. And we do strongly suggest that you contact us in advance of a visit so that we can check sources, we can suggest what's the best thing to look at, confirm that the archives are available, and generally try and make your visit as productive as possible. And we usually suggest this is easiest done by email. And then if necessary, we can always give you a ring if we think, oh, this backwards and forwards by email is not working, let's talk to somebody. We don't currently offer a research service. We always used to, but we have suspended it. So our advice at the moment is for people to go through to the AGRA website and go that way. So our website, I was watching some of the previous county sessions, and one of my sort of colleagues at Hampshire said, please go and have a look at the website. And I would strongly suggest you do. It's not a perfect website by any means. We are looking at replacing it, but there is a lot of information on there. In many ways, there's almost too much. And I think that's why it's sometimes a bit unwieldy to work your way around. But if you have a look at the homepage, and you'll find a box that says how to get started, and that's your best place to come to. So you'll then find where we are, how to get to us, useful things like car parking, directions, maps, etc. There's also information about accessibility of the building, as well as information about our key collections, which can also be helpful. Getting started with research guides. And then if you are also, as well as a researcher, you have archives that you would like to donate to us, there's a whole section there about donating records. So within the planning your visit bit, there's also guidance on how you register as a reader. Then the main bit obviously is the archive catalogue. As I said, that's not functioning as well as we would like it to. So if you don't find information in there and you think they must have this, please email us. It's the catalogue that's the problem, not the user, is what I was saying to somebody the other day. It's down to our catalogue, which we are working on. Now, some of our catalogues go back to the 1930s and the 1940s, so they are quite difficult, if you will, to upload into our digital cataloguing management system. So while we're doing that, we've taken the sort of the quick option of PDFing the early typed catalogues, and you can see an example down there on the bottom left, which you can't really do OCRing on these. So it is a question of somewhat laboriously typing them all into the digital management system. So in the short term, what we've done is we've PDF'd them and put them up online so that you can at least search them. And we've also taken the decision to do the same with some of our card indexes, so that, again, people can make the best of their time before they actually come into the archive and have a look through those card indexes. They aren't complete, so again, it's always worth checking with us. So in terms of sources of family history, just keeping an eye on the time, we have really what you'd expect to find in most other county shire record offices. So parish registers and other parish material. And I think that's the joy of parish collections, is that there is so much more to them. I think initially people focus very much on the parish registers, but it's remembering that there are all those other types of records sitting inside the parish collections that might have that extra bit of information for you. We also have nonconformist records, education records, probate, manorial documents, rate books, electoral registers, and much, much more. So starting with material that's available online. As Andy said, we have our parish registers for Suffolk online, and there was a comment in the chat about Barningham being missing, which I didn't know about. I knew Baddingham. Baddingham's a very odd example where, for some reason, we don't have any of the registers. We're on the hunt for those, as it were. They're in the parish, so we're not really hunting, but we're trying to get them in. Barningham I will need to look at, though, because I'm not sure why they aren't appearing. There are also a few of the later ones where the parishes are still using the registers. So we've got a sliding programme of those to bring them in, digitise them as quickly as we can, and then get them back to the parishes to continue using them. And then we will release the additional information. There are over 500 parishes, so it is quite a big task to assess whether we have the registers, if the church still has them, or if they genuinely just haven't survived. Again, Andy mentioned there are some obvious transcribing errors. So please flag those with Ancestry as and when you spot them. And this was mentioned on the chat as well, and I strongly suggest that people do this, is that sort of double checking. So there's the Family History Society indexes on CD. There's also some on Find My Past. and then checking the original images via Ancestry. The images are wonderful. They are really good quality. So having that against the indexes does mean that you get the best of both worlds. The other material that we've released recently on Ancestry is the jail books. So for Beccles, West Suffolk, Ipswich and Woodbridge, we have a wealth of material. So this is actually, sorry Andy, this is a Mary Kerridge from Wellneatham, who was, this is a West Suffolk jail receiving book. She stole a rug and various other articles alongside her husband. But if you can find people in these books, it's wonderful because you get the age, you get the height, the complexion, the colour of hair, all those sorts of details which you probably wouldn't know for somebody of this date. So I think this is one of those examples where actually you'd quite like to have a wrong'un in your family to get that additional information. Find My Past we have less on, obviously because we've taken out the contract with Ancestry, but we did participate in the school admission registers and logbooks programme some years ago now. I think it was probably might have been 2014 given the date on this, where a lot of county record officers had a combined programme with Find My Past. So again, can be really useful information just to see. This is an admission register for Somersham School, which is near Needham Market, sort of between Needham Market and Bramford. And it tells you where they came from, where the children went to, which gives you that little bit of extra context. The other thing that we have access through Find My Past is the British Newspaper Archive. And again, that can be really helpful to have a look at. So in terms of the other sources where you actually have to come to the hold really to see what we've got, the parish papers I mentioned, so settlement, removal, varsity papers, apprenticeship indentures, accounts, all of which can reveal a wealth of information about your family. Now, a lot of these are indexed to name level on our catalogue, so it's always worth popping names into the catalogue search. There are a few of the bigger parishes where they haven't been indexed down to individual names. So that's a bundle of examinations or a bundle of settlement papers. But it's always worth popping the name in. Now, sadly, the coverage and the survival of these is very varied. So some parishes have a wonderful collection. Others, there's hardly anything. So it is the luck of the draw as to which parish you're after, really. Non-conformist records, we do have some really lovely non-conformist records. The Methodists are very strong, and we have a lot of Unitarians. Now, one of the things I would say about this is that the chapels and churches and the circuits that many of them organise themselves into tended to cover quite big geographical areas. So don't rule out a potential match because you think it's too far away. It's always worth having a double check. Not all the archives are held locally for non-conformists. So I know that there are some Bilderston Baptist archives at a college in Oxford for some reason. I don't know why they ended up there, but that's where they are. And some of the Roman Catholic material relating to the Roman Catholic Church in Berry has actually, they withdrew that and they sent it up to the diocesan archive in Norwich. Whereas we do hold Roman Catholic material for one of the Lowestoft churches. So again, it's very varied as to what we have and what we don't have. The picture on the right is actually from the Salvation Army Woodbridge Corps. And this, I think, is really quite lovely. So the electric light in the hall was installed and dedicated to the glory of God in loving memory of Bert Crane, who'd been a bandmaster at the Salvation Army and then very sadly died in 1918 in Italy. And his wife basically paid for this as a memorial. But it's a beautiful, beautiful image. And if you found that for one of your relatives, it's just that extra little bit of poignancy, I suppose. So then probate records. We're slightly complicated. We have two archdeaconries, Sudbury for the west and Suffolk for the east. So all of our wills and other probate documents are split into two collections, IC/500 and ICAA. Now, a lot of the original wills can be purchased and downloaded on the website. They are name indexed on the website. and the administrations and the inventories are also indexed on the website. The only thing that isn't at the moment is the registered copies of the wills, just because that's a work in progress. Manorial records are also another fabulous resource for tracking transfers of property and possible family links, particularly pre-parish registers. Now, we've got extensive manorial records. There is a really good guide to manorial documents on the National Archives website, which is what I've linked here. The Manorial Documents Register is the catalogue on the National Archives website for all manorial documents relating to Suffolk. So that obviously includes material that we don't hold and that's held in other archive services or indeed in private hands. Because of the way the project was done, there's some material in big solicitors' collections, which we're still cataloguing, and therefore haven't made available through our own website, but was catalogued for the MDR project and is therefore on the National Archives site. So if you've got to the point of manorial documents, always best to have a look on the MDR as well as our website. And then electoral registers, just as one more example of material that can be helpful. We have a wide selection of those. We do have a gap in our holdings from about 1898 to 1920. And they can be quite complicated to get into initially, so always best to ask colleagues. And then I did want to mention the Suffolk Regiment collection, because this used to be one of the main collections at the Bury St Edmunds branch. And although it's not the personnel files of the men who served in the Suffolk Regiment, there were lots of papers relating to individuals, either material that families or individual servicemen had deposited as part of the collection, or photographs, battalion war diaries, and so on and such forth. Now, when we closed the Bury St Edmunds branch, the Regimental Museum decided that it would retain the archives in Bury. So we've worked very closely with them, and they now have that collection held very close to the Regimental Museum. So I just thought I'd pop the web address in there for you, just in case anybody has got that link, because that was the major collection which didn't come across with us. And then really just future plans for Suffolk Archives. This is very much a whistle-stop tour of the archive service. As I mentioned, we have a new website coming later this year. The emphasis will be very much on making the catalogue functionality better and allowing us to do more with the vast number of spreadsheets of indexes and transcripts and the like that we've been sitting on for ages, but hopefully we'll then be able to publish. We've got more releases coming on ancestry. So the bishop's transcripts and the marriage licenses should be released this year. Next year, we should be seeing the release of probate records. So that will be the original wills, registered wills, inventories, and administrations. The vaccination registers project, Andy mentioned this, and this is really interesting. So we've been, at the moment, the first step is they're creating a digital system that kind of pushes people through the registers. So it tells you to transcribe this bit of text. Then it pushes you to the next one. And the system checks if the first two transcribers agree. And if they agree, it says, great. If they don't, it pushes for a third person to have a look at it, and then will allow us to export and analyze the data. And the next stage is going to be looking at training the AI system, which the Denmark University colleagues are looking at, so that we can start to see whether that works or not. So this is all very new for archive services, and whilst we're not running into it full pelt, it isn't something we can ignore. So it's about using this pilot project really as an opportunity to see how it works, see what we need to do, and how much we trust the information. As well as that, we're continuing to collect archives from across Suffolk, and as I said, increasing the number of catalogues and indexes online, which will be easier when we have our new website. And then lastly, I just wanted to end with sort of some quick tips, please ask us. So we love having weird and wonderful questions posed to us. We can't always answer them immediately, and it's very much a hive brain. So it's a question of, most of us have done a bit of family history, some lots. But if one person doesn't know, it will usually pique the interest of the rest of the team, and then we can go on and try and find an answer for you. Patience, this is not a quick hobby, and I think this is more so since the proliferation of sort of family trees online and ancestry with its lovely hint options, that if you're not careful, you can go, oh, I'll have them. But we would always suggest that you get back to the original records yourself. And then obviously join a local society. Andy's talked about the Suffolk Family History Society. Chris was going to be talking about Old Valley, but I don't think it's Chris. So forgive me if it's not. But they can be really helpful because they have that sort of local interest. They have that experience. And yeah, they maybe are easily able to turn around and say, oh yeah, Hornings Heath, that's Horringer. That sort of local information that can be really helpful. And so yes, that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Right, our next speaker is Chris Broom, who is a graduate of the Institute of Heraldic and Genealogical Studies of Canterbury, where he spent 5 years as a tutor. He is a member of the Register of Qualified Genealogists and has been chairman of the Eildar Valley Suffolk Family History Group since 2020.
Good afternoon, everyone, and apologies that I can't be with you at today's exciting event. However, I will provide an email address at the end of this presentation for anyone who wishes to raise questions with me direct. By way of introduction, my name is Chris Broom, and I have had the privilege of being chairman of Old Valley Suffolk Family History Group for the last 5 years. I retired to Suffolk in 2013 following a 40-year career in banking, then studied with the Institute of Heraldic and Genealogical Studies Canterbury, achieving their diploma in genealogy in 2017. I now run a genealogical research business specialising in East Anglia and, for me anyway, the fascinating subject of heraldry. Turning to the subject of my talk, Old Valley Suffolk Family History Group was founded in 2008 and is a modest but vibrant family history group serving those living in and or with ancestral roots on the east coast of Suffolk. Our name is derived from the River Old, which winds through much of our catchment area before changing its name to the River Orr and flowing into the North Sea. Historically, our membership has been recruited primarily from the towns of Aldborough, Leiston, Saxmundham and outlying villages. However, our appeal extends to a wider audience, whether living further afield in our beautiful county, elsewhere in the country, or even on the other side of the world. But where is the Old Valley? This is a question we are frequently asked at external events. Broadly speaking, the Old Valley traces the course of the River Old, seen here as a wiggly blue line to the right of the slide, that in the past was navigable as far inland as Saxmundham. Nowadays the river is navigable for leisure only as far inland as the famous Snape maltings founded by Newson Garrett in the 1840s, from where malted barley was shipped to London by Thames barges. I'll revisit the legacy of the Garrett family shortly. As shown by this map, our geography covers the towns of Aldborough, Leiston, Saxmundham, Orford and Framlingham, plus 60 villages, in all embracing some 65 parishes. East Suffolk is blessed with a rich history, much of it concerned with an eternally challenging relationship with the North Sea, as still evidenced by the very newsworthy coastal erosion that has so blighted the village of Thorpeness in recent times. These days, large swathes of the landscape are being carved up in preparation for the construction of the Sizewell C nuclear power station, just a short distance from the town of Leiston. However, this is not the first time that the town has proved to be the subject of industrial development and a magnet for those seeking employment outside of agriculture. In 1778, Richard Garrett IV founded the ironworks in Leiston, specialising in the production of agricultural machinery and steam engines. Over 70 years later, following a meeting between his grandson, also Richard Garrett, and Samuel Colt of Colt revolver fame, at the Great Exhibition of 1851, the Garrett family built the first production line in the world, beating Henry Ford by some 50 years. This pioneering development is today commemorated in the Longshot Museum, Leiston, where the legacy of the Garrett dynasty is likewise celebrated. Equally significant was Snape Maltings, the site of which, as mentioned earlier, was acquired by Newson Garrett in 1840. By 1852, Newson had become a man of some importance in Aldborough. Here he built the substantial manor of Auld House, along with a number of other properties, including the Jubilee Hall. During his tenure, Snape Maltings became a significant local employer, just as the Garrett Works had become in Leiston. For those of you who are unaware, the Garrett family also produced Elizabeth Garrett Anderson, the first qualified medical practitioner in England, as well as the country's first mayoress, and her sister Millicent Garrett Fawcett, a leading suffragette whose statue now graces Parliament Square in London. Elizabeth's lesser-known daughter, Louisa, followed her mother into the medical profession, later establishing the famous Endell Street Military Hospital in Covent Garden at the height of World War I. In 1917, she was appointed commander of the British Empire. Beyond the influence of the Garrett family, and as is true of any location, the lives of those living in East Suffolk have been shaped by the area's topography and socio-economic development. As one would expect, occupations are primarily associated with incomes generated from the land and sea, with a mix of related rural trades and crafts. The area also prides itself on close historic connections with the military, notably the Suffolk Regiment. Turning attention back to Old Valley Suffolk Family History Group, the group's activities fall under three headings. 1. Monthly meetings at the Fromers Centre, Saxmundham, where we host talks on a wide range of family and local history subjects given by knowledgeable speakers. These sociable events are available to all, with fully paid members also able to attend most talks via Zoom. 2. Help with your family history research sessions, hosted monthly at local libraries in Aldborough, Leiston and Saxmundham. These drop-in sessions are also available to all, with no booking required. Separately, we provide visitors with one-to-one research support by appointment at our dedicated help centre in Leiston. 3. Attendance at family history events throughout the year, when our knowledgeable team of experienced researchers are on hand to help visitors with their family history enquiries. These events typically include those hosted by the Family History Federation and Suffolk Family History Society, and include our very own annual Open Day, when we are joined by many like-minded organisations from East Suffolk, e.g. local history groups and museums, each offering a unique perspective on the area's rich heritage. I'll talk a little more about these groups later. And if all of this is not enough, our publicity officer produces a wonderfully informative quarterly newsletter, a digital copy of which is included in a modest membership fee of only £10 per annum. While we don't boast archives on anything like the scale of the Hold or Suffolk Family History Society, squirreled away on the first floor of the council offices in Leiston will be found a unique collection of material curated by Old Valley Suffolk Family History Group over many years. In many instances, these records will not be found at well-known subscription sites or local archives. A more comprehensive listing of our collection can be found on the group's website, www.avsfhg.org.uk. However, some notable highlights, excluding the asterisked items shown here that I'll cover separately, include graveyard surveys and monumental inscriptions, The group has completed several local graveyard surveys, the results of which are held either as hard copies and/or, in some instances, as digitised Word documents or Excel spreadsheets. The completed surveys include churchyards at Aldringham, Benall, Eastbridge, Kelsale and Leiston. The surveys for Aldringham and Leiston extend to the Baptist Chapel and Municipal Cemetery, respectively. War memorials. Transcriptions of several local monuments capturing details of lives lost during the 2 world wars. Maps. Acquired from an old surveyor's office in 2019, we hold a large collection of flat Ordnance Survey maps at a scale of 25 inches to the mile. These are stored in a dedicated map chest. In keeping with our geographical locations, the coverage is biased towards East Suffolk and the Old Valley in particular. Other. We hold a wide range of other material, including Suffolk street directories, selective parish registers and censuses, including out of county, on microfiche, and a collection of oral histories. Moving on to Leiston Grammar School photographs, this unique collection features black and white photographs of sports teams, football, cricket, tennis and hockey, spanning the years 1934 to 1968. There are also several whole school panoramic photographs available, although none of these evidence the urban myth that it was possible to appear twice in the same shot by running quickly from one side of the group to the other because of the long shutter exposure. Digital copies of individual photographs are available upon request. Finally, publications. We hold numerous books written by local authors offering a unique perspective on the history of East Suffolk and lives steeped in agricultural and maritime traditions. By way of example, the following 3 texts hold particular appeal for family and local historians. From Flint Knappers to Atom Splitters charts the history of Leiston-cum-Sizewell. Aldborough Diary traces the history of Aldborough and its people, and Our Story of Saxmundham described as the history and tales from an East Suffolk market town. We also have available a broad selection of pen and sword family history guidebooks currently on loan to Leiston Library. While Old Valley Suffolk Family History Group prides itself on its unique identity and independence, we are also keen to promote the activities of like-minded organisations in East Suffolk, of which a number are listed here. Each of these groups is led by enthusiastic volunteers, and many of them have their own unique records, capturing intimate details of lives led in a very tightly defined location. I'm now going to highlight 3 such groups, providing a brief overview of their origins and archives. Benall and Sternfield History Group was formed in 2010 by several village residents passionate about local history. There is a physical community archive based in Benall Green, from which a digital archive is being created. The group is keen to invite the help of people who have information about the villages and their inhabitants, as well as to share the information gathered over the years. Their website can be found at www.benhallsternfieldhistory.co.uk, all lowercase. Friston Village History Group was established in 2024. The aim of the group is to update and add to A Short History of a Suffolk Village by Clarissa Thomas, published for the millennium. Funding has been granted so that the History Group can establish a local archive cupboard to store local photographs and other memorabilia. Updates and projects include a history of the oldest buildings, detailed map of the cemetery, the story of Friston Players Drama Group, the history of the WI in Friston, schooling, interesting people who have lived in the village, and memories. Folklore and ongoing is the story of major infrastructure projects impacting Friston's village. The group meets monthly. Formed in early 2018, the Oxford History Group is a small group adding to the archive started by Eileen English, the village postmistress from 1947 to 1981. They now also have the Horner archive, donated by the family, 3 generations of whom ran the village shop between 1907 and 1994, and whose name has been retained. This includes photos, letters, shop ledgers, news cuttings, books, and a few objects. The archive of the Oxford Gallery, founded in the 1960s by Vera Delph, has been donated by her daughter Deborah Ardizone. The Thompson collection, 10 large albums of photographs and postcards collected by resident Fred Thompson, was likewise donated by his family. This has now been scanned and digitised with funding from the Scarf Trust. The internet has opened up a world of possibilities for family historians, including the popular subscription sites, many free-to-access databases, and the power of search engines such as Google. Social media also plays an increasingly significant role in pooling local knowledge, and I show here just a handful of Facebook groups in East Suffolk, including All Valley Suffolk Family History Group's own private Facebook group. I'm going to close with a case study that for me epitomises the hidden archive stored not in datasets or old texts, but in the corporate knowledge of individuals, many of whom have lived out their lives in a single geographic location. An out-of-county lady named Jo Cottrell, then a non-member, recounts that in February 2021, during the third COVID-19 lockdown, yes, it really was 5 years ago, set out to pinpoint the location of a property in Icon, Suffolk, outside of which her evacuee mother was pictured with her own mother and brother. It was also understood that the owners of the property were 2 artists named Tommy Dugdale and Amy Browning. After the war, Jo Cottrell's mother remembers visiting an unknown portrait gallery in London where she saw a painting of herself by Amy entitled The Evacuee. Keen to know what became of the painting and to discover more about the precise location of the mystery house in Icon, Jo approached All Valley Suffolk Family History Group for assistance. Subsequently, the property belonging to the 2 artists was identified by one of our members as being Poplar Farm, now Stanley House Farm. Even more impressively, another member then came forward to inform us that she believed the painting of Jo's mother now belonged to a neighbour in the village of Benall. Some months later, when we were out of the grip of the COVID epidemic, Jo Cottrell travelled to Suffolk to be reunited with her mother and wrote of her experience. A massive thank you to the kind members of the Old Valley Suffolk Family History Group who have brought an immense amount of joy in these dark times. In summary, Old Valley Suffolk Family History Group cannot compete with the likes of the Hold Ipswich or Suffolk Family History Society in terms of its geographic reach and the breadth and depth of its archives. It has, however, curated a unique collection of material reflecting the idiosyncrasies of the primary communities it was established to serve. Beyond the resources of Old Valley Suffolk Family History Group, there are numerous like-minded organisations within the group's tightly defined catchment area, each bringing their own intimate perspective to the heritage of East Suffolk. Arguably just as powerful as physical records and datasets is the corporate knowledge of long-standing inhabitants that, coupled with the skills of experienced researchers, has proved so powerful in helping solving brick walls and bring colour to ancestral lives. Thank you to the Society of Genealogists for including Old Valley Suffolk Family History Group in today's event, and thank you all for listening. Please feel free to direct any questions about my talk to chair@avsfhg.org.uk. You may also wish to take a look at the group's website at www.avsfhg.org.uk, although, just a word of caution, a new site is currently under construction with the scheduled launch date of the end of March 2026.
Oh, so our next speaker is Vanessa Harding, who is the chair of the Historic Towns Trust and Emeritus Professor of London History at Birkbeck University of London.
Hello, I'm Vanessa Harding and I'm chair of the Historic Towns Trust. I'd like to explain what we do and how our approach might be of interest and value to the genealogy and family history community of this region. The Historic Towns Trust is a charity run by volunteer trustees like myself. The motto, "Mapping our shared history one town at a time," sums up our mission to widen understanding and appreciation of the history and topography of our towns and cities. We do this by producing historical maps and atlases of British towns and cities in partnership with local historians, geographers and archaeologists. Through educational and outreach activities, for example by developing teaching materials for schools and contributing to events such as this, we aim to share how historical maps can help us all to understand and value the urban past and potentially improve the present. Our publications are used by individuals, in schools and universities, and by community groups. Just as family history contributes to a broader understanding of society in the past, making and using historical maps can help us see how history shapes environment and how the environment shapes those who inhabit it. Histories of people and histories of place go together and illuminate one another. So far, we've covered some 30 towns and cities in one publication form or another, and half a dozen more are in development. Though this is only a tiny fraction of all the historic towns and cities in Britain, it's a start, and given the huge importance of migration and population movement in the history of Britain, wherever you live now, one or more of these may well have played a part in your wider family history. Though our early publications were in atlas form, in recent years we've focused on producing historical maps of individual towns or cities. In Suffolk, however, we have so far only one publication, comprising the map of Ipswich published last year, with generous support from the Suffolk Institute for Archaeology and History and many other local patrons. I want to use this map to show the richness of historical mapping and to suggest how our practice can be extended to wherever else you might be interested in Suffolk or beyond. A key criterion for all our publications is comparability, a common base in Ordnance Survey mapping, a common scale of about 1 to 2,500 or 25 inches to the mile, a similar array of cartographic conventions, so that the development of one place can easily be compared with that of others to promote understanding of their history. So typically our historical maps show past and present together. This is, after all, the way that we experience towns and cities today. The modern scene includes surviving buildings, ancient street lines, historic place names, and commemorations of past events and people. Here is the magnificent 19th century town hall from Ipswich and the adjoining post office in the main market square, which itself dates from the Middle Ages or earlier. Here are buildings from the 16th to 19th centuries, still in commercial use. Our maps are normally based on an Ordnance Survey map of the 19th or early 20th century. And for Ipswich, we used a map of 1902. We believe it's important to use a map that predates modern developments, particularly the redevelopment of town centres to accommodate the car, and shows the underlying historic layout. This helps the viewer and the user to relate what's now visible to what was once there. The Ordnance Survey base is then digitised and edited to form the base map, to which are added historical features, including some that have disappeared. The large scale of 1 to 2,500 allows us to show major buildings in some detail where this is known, including buildings now lost, but recorded through excavation or known through research, such as here, the Whitefriars Convent. Natural and man-made topographical features that underlie the modern townscape are marked, including watercourses and those which have since disappeared. In the case of Ipswich, the River Orwell has been central to its history, connecting the Saxon and medieval town, somewhat tortuously, with the North Sea and European trade and migration networks. The silting up of the river in the 18th century severely hampered Ipswich's trade potential, but the creation of the wet dock in 1839 to 42 brought new wealth and industry to the town, and the new custom house, completed in 1842, marks this new age. Every map has a key or legend to explain what each of the symbols and colours means, and the themes are common from map to map, but there are always some specific local features to be accommodated. And with the help of the street directory or gazetteer keyed to the map, the reader can find addresses and locate buildings, events, and activities from the past. Typically, the reverse of the map includes a street directory, images, extracts from historic maps, and thematic or topic boxes, such as this one on hotels, inns, and coaching inns. For more about how the map of Ipswich was made, there's a talk by trustee James Winterbotham and archaeologist Keith Wade on our YouTube channel. And if there's one person interested in Ipswich in the audience who doesn't already know about this map, then I hope I may have promoted a sale. But that won't be the case for most of you. If you're interested in developing your own historical map, what can you learn from our practice? How do we actually go about researching and plotting the information on a historical map, and what sources do we use? It's important to say that we don't do this all by ourselves. All of our maps are the product of local collaborations and rely on local expertise and enthusiasm. The Trust can offer editorial and cartographic expertise and coordinate the production and distribution of the map, but most of the work is done by the local group. Their knowledge and research contribute the information to be mapped, and they lead fundraising for their map or atlas, as well as planning ways in which it might be used, for example in local schools. Making historical maps draws on a wide range of sources, but the most obvious one is historic maps and views. The National Library of Scotland website is an amazing resource, particularly for Ordnance Survey maps, but also for all other kinds of maps. It's easily searchable and almost everything is downloadable for free. You'll probably also be aware of the British Library's amazing map collection, slightly different of access now since their cyber attack, but still very easily searched and very easily found. This is what a simple search for Suffolk map brings up, for example. You may not also be familiar with this site as well, which is an excellent catalogue of British town maps with a lot of explanatory and supporting text. We also use historic views, both for research but also for illustration. The British Museum collection is an excellent source, but there are many more. Again, they are free to download for private research and private use. Of course, there are many other kinds of sources for reconstructing townscapes: archaeology, standing buildings, official and unofficial histories of individual buildings, town records concerning streets, town walls, markets, building regulations. I think everywhere will now have a Pevsner, and Suffolk, of course, now has two. The actual process of creating a map, turning information into cartography, is directed by the Trust's cartographic editor, Giles Darks. He made a video for 2023's All About That Place, explaining that process in greater detail and with examples. Finally, for more information about the Trust, what we've achieved so far, what we hope to achieve, please do visit our website. There's more information there about what's involved in making a map or atlas and how partnerships work. Several of our earlier publications are available for free download, and our more recent ones, including the map of Ipswich, can be bought from the online shop. We post latest news on the website and on social media. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with us, and thank you for listening.
Our last speaker today is Dr. Paula Alcott, who is a Senior Research Associate at the University of Portsmouth and contributor to the local history website, A Vision of Britain Through Time. Thank you, Paula.
Hello, everybody. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our website, which is all about local history. We don't have any information about individual people or buildings or even streets, but it's all about what a place was like in the past. So to help you understand what the place was like that your ancestors lived in. And we have in that information old maps, descriptions from the past and statistics. And you search our site through the place. So you can search by a place name or you can search by a postcode. So this is the current homepage for our website. As you can see, there's a big search box in the middle. And at the top, you'll see there's a banner with a search box as well. That banner is visible on every page of our website. So you can start a new search if you decide that you want to try to look for somewhere else. So you type your place name into the search box. And for today, we're going to use Sudbury as our example. So if there are multiple places with the name that you're interested in, it will give you this page for the results, showing you an outline map, giving you a vague indication of where in the country the various Sudburys are, and a list on the left. And we're obviously looking at number 1, Sudbury in Suffolk today. So we click on that and we go to the home page for Sudbury in Suffolk. Now, if the place name that you typed in was unique and there was only one place in the country with that name, it would take you directly to this page. So this page is designed to give you 2 kinds of information. It works as a stepping stone to other parts of the website, but it's also designed to give you information straight away. So you have the outline map on the right with the marker indicating where in the country Sudbury is. We have a list of nearby places that you can click through to go to if you were interested in somewhere that was fairly close by. And underneath we have a historical description from a 19th century gazetteer. So if we click on the further information, this will expand so you can read the entire entry from this historical gazetteer. So you read what that has to say, and then you might say, well, what else can I find out about Sudbury from the historical writing? If you click on the historical writing button at the top, it takes you through to the writing part of the website. At the top, we've got various other entries from 19th century gazetteers. We have 2 for England, which is Bartholomew's, which was the one that you saw to start with. We also have the Imperial Gazetteer. They're both 19th century. And then underneath, we have a list of travel writers. Now, these are people who went on journeys around the country and wrote about their experiences. Some of them have particular focus, and others are just traveling around and writing about what they see. Now, the list is ordered by the person who references the place that we're interested in the most. So in this case, we're going to look at the entry from Arthur Young. Now, he was a traveller in the late 18th century, and he was very interested in farming practices and agriculture. So when you click on the link, it will take you to the first place where he references Sudbury. As you can see, I've ringed it so you can see, and all of the place names in this section of writing are hyperlinks. So if you were interested in one of the other places like Melford, you just click on that link and it will take you to the place page for Melford. You'll also see there's a little dot map with for outline, which shows all the places that he references in this section of writing. So you can read that at your leisure. Once you've read that, you might say, well, what else do we have in the site? So if you go back to the place page, we're going to go and look at the maps. So our map collection is quite general. We don't have any specific street plans, but the idea is that it will give you a general sense of what the place was like and how it's changed. So the maps window that you see is centered on the place that we're interested in, so Sudbury. And this map window, you can expand it and you can pan and zoom the map window. Underneath, you'll just see the top of a list of map sheets. Now, as you move the map window, the list underneath will update, so we'll always show you the maps that we have that are the closest in location and scale to what you are looking at in the map window. As you can see, we have a variety of topographic and boundary maps and a few land use maps. If you wanted to look at the maps in more detail, if you can click on the little thumbnails at the bottom from the list, and it will open a map in a new tab for you, where you can see our map sheets that we have. Now, this is from this is one of our earliest maps. This is from the Boundary Commission report from 1832 of the proposed boundary for the parliamentary borough. This is as detailed as we get on our maps, but it's helpful in getting a sense of how the places have expanded generally. It also gives you the chance to look to see if there's anything written in the margins and to see the key if there is one. Quite a few of the historical maps don't have a key. So what else can we show you? Well, from the place page, you can also look at the related websites. So this gives you links to other websites that also have a national coverage, that have a page about, in this case, Sudbury, so the place that you're interested in. And if you click on any of these links, it will take you directly to their page about Sudbury in their website. You'll see we have two tabs. We have the Sudbury tab and we have the locations nearby. The locations nearby are for websites that have a slightly more generalised area. So things like Geograph, which with lots of photos, or National Library of Scotland, which have the map sheets. The other information we have is statistics, and we present these in two ways. So the first way I'm going to show you is Sudbury through time, which is at the bottom underneath the Historical Gazetteer. So if you click on this, it will take you through to the modern local authority that is covers the area of Sudbury, in this case, Baber District. And as you can see at the top, we've got a series of statistical themes, and underneath we have information about the modern local authority area. And you can expand those to find out more information. So today we're going to click on the population theme, and this will take you through to a selection of information that we have. At the top you have rate graphs, and underneath we have more statistical data. So for today's example, we're going to use total population. And so you're presented with the chart view to start with, which shows the total population of the Baber District from 1801 through to 2021. You can also choose to look at the second tab, which has the numbers that we've used to create the graph, and the third tab, which has the sources of this information. Now, obviously, the modern local authority has not existed since 1801, but what we've done is we've these are estimates, but they're good estimates based on a process of redistribution of the figures from the historical information. So the idea is that we make it easy for you to see how things have changed. But you might also be interested in the original statistics, so we also have those. If you go back to the place page and use the units and statistics button, this takes you through to a list of all the units that we have in the system that relate to Sudbury. Now, at the top of the list, there is the modern wards. You've got a built-up area, which is a bit narrower than the local authority district. The district you've already looked at, and then county. Anything that has an extended label or after the name shows that we've done the redistribution through time for an extended period. Underneath that list are a list of historical units, and they have the statistics that relate to their existence. So they don't extend through time, they're just when they existed and when we have information for them. This list you can narrow by theme and by date. So just to take a couple of examples, to go from the total population that we were just looking at, we have the registration district of Sudbury, which had a population of 22,000 in 1801, and it rose by about 4,000 in 1911. Now, the registration district was the urban area plus the surrounding rural area. In contrast, on the right, we have the graph for the municipal borough of Sudbury, which was used for census reporting in the mainly throughout the 20th century. And as you can see, that has just over 7,000 people to start with and didn't drop by very much by the end of the period that we're looking at. This is because this was a much smaller area. It was literally just the urban area. It didn't include the surrounding rural area, which was a different local government district. So, yeah. So that's a very quick synopsis of what our website can do for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.